Hey guys, it's Kristen from Anime Collective. So every single statue I personally purchase is either of a character I love or from one of my favorite scenes in one of my favorite anime series. But today is really special because I got in one of Naruto from MH Studio that not only shows him in Sage Mode, but also shows him in one of my favorite moments in the entire series, in his battle with Pain. So Sage Mode is my all-time favorite, and this moment is also one of my favorite from the entire series, so I really couldn't wait to unbox this one. I also pre-ordered MH Studios' Pain statue, so that one actually came in 2 scales. It came in 1/7 and 1/4. So I personally went ahead and got the 1/4 because the MH Studio Naruto is in 1/4 scale as well, and I really wanted to display these together. So when I get that one in, I will definitely be doing an unboxing for you guys, and I'll also show you what these 2 statues look like together in that video. As always with statue unboxings, we'll kick things off showing you guys the pieces up close, then Brad will assemble the statue, and then we'll do a showcase at the end. Since this one exceeded my expectations, I really can't wait to unbox this one, so let's get into it. So first off, here's what the art box looks like. A pretty simple box all around, but my favorite part about it is the artwork of Naruto Sage Mode on the top. And here's a quick look at the foam inserts that the pieces were housed in. So these 2 different inserts were held together with strong Velcro straps. Luckily nothing came damaged, so everything was packaged really well by MH Studio. So first up are the head sculpts, and this statue came with a total of 2. The first head sculpt shows Naruto in Sage Mode. The expression on his face is determined and fierce, and this is one of the best Sage Mode portraits I've seen. A lot of studios don't get his eyes in this form right, but MH Studio really hit it out of the park here. The orange around his eyes is bold, and the detailing in his pupils look incredible. They even added a highlight bubble and some shading to his eyes, and they are top coated with a clear gloss to give them a more realistic look. His headband is done well too. It has metallic paint to give the plate in its center a nice shimmer in the light, and it has the look of real metal. His hair is also incredibly sculpted, some of the best work on hair I've seen on a statue of Naruto, by the way. The sparks are really sharp, so be careful when putting his head sculpts on, but there are so many different layers, and I love the different yellows they chose to add highlights and shadows to his hair. The second head sculpt shows him with a kunai in his mouth, which isn't easy to execute, but they managed to pull it off. I really love the look of the kunai, which is painted like metal with its handle wrapped in bandaging. Like the first portrait, Naruto's likeness and spirit is captured really well here. On both head sculpts, it's just top-notch work all around. His face is still anime accurate, but it's also enhanced, especially since they went a more realistic route on his hair and eyes. All in all, the choices they made on his portraits really paid off here. And here's the bow or tie of his headband. 2 came with the statue, 1 for each head sculpt. They came separately sculpted since they are more fragile pieces, which I'm happy MH Studio did, because this piece would have easily broken if it came attached. I also like how they sculpted them in a way so that they are flying out sideways to add some motion to the statue. And here's Fukasaku. I'm so happy he's included on this statue. His head comes separately sculpted, and it attaches with a magnet into his body sculpt, but I went ahead and put it on to show you guys what he fully looks like. I haven't put his cape on yet, but it hides the seam line you see on his neck. He has his mohawk-like style hair, and his likeness is spot on as well. Also on his back, you have the message from Jiraiya. He has a hidden magnet in his stomach that allows him to rest securely on Naruto's shoulder, which you'll see in assembly. I really like how they did this because there aren't any notches or visible key-in areas on Fukasaku or Naruto's body sculpts. Up next is Fukasaku's cape that came sculpted separately. As mentioned earlier, it hides the seam line on his neck, and it lays nicely on his body sculpt when assembled. It's sculpted in a way that is somewhat flying up behind him, much like Naruto's is, which is cool too. I'm also extremely happy because they included Shima with this statue as well. She sits to the side of the statue, but they did her justice as well with her sculpt in paint. And the way they sculpted her hair in particular looks awesome. I love both Shima and Fukasaku, and they played such an important role in this series, and the fact that MH Studio made the decision to include them both with this statue is part of the reason I decided to pick this one up. Here is the scroll he had during his battle with Pain. They made it a little more ornamental with the addition of the pattern on the maroon colored sections. I also like the way they painted and textured the belt to look like leather. They even added rings on the edges to make the ends of the scroll look like real paper, which is a really nice detail. They also included cloud pieces which key in on and around his cape. You kind of have to play around to find out which notches fit where, but it's easy to assemble these once you figure it out. They added some nice gray shading to these, and I also really love the way they sculpted swirls into the clouds. Rock details are also included in these pieces to make it look as if rubble is flying up around him due to the impact. The next pieces are added to the base, but were sculpted separately because they are more fragile pieces. Up first, you have 3 pieces of this red fencing that have this wood texture. These are added to show the rubble of Konoha. You also have 5 of these rebar-like pieces that are painted like metal and key into these small notches on the rock, which you'll see in assembly. It's a bit difficult to find which ones fit where, but you kind of just have to keep twisting them around until you find the right one where each one fits in. This statue also comes with 2 separately sculpted arms, one left and one right arm that key in with magnets. This is the right arm, which is performing part of the shadow clone sign. His other hand is still down on the statue after fighting the Asura path, but I think he's about to perform the shadow clone technique here. The hand is sculpted really nicely. You can see all of the lines in his palm, his tendons, which look like they are actually activated. They executed his fingernails and his knuckles well also. The next arm is his left arm, which is pointing straight down. You can see all of the detailing on his sleeve here as well with the texturing they added to his jacket. Next up is one of my favorite parts, his body sculpt. So the outfit here is really accurate. He's shown wearing his red cloak, which has the black flame pattern on it. They added texturing on his clothing, including his jacket, which almost has this leather-like texture to it. And then his pants, which are textured nicely as well. On his pants, they even added the pockets on the back as well, and all of the thread details also. They added so much detail to his clothing, and I really love what they did here. His shuriken holster and the leather bag are included on this statue as well, so they left no detail off his body sculpt. There's also this zipper detail you see here on his shirt, which is really nice as well. I really love the pose he is shown in too. This wide-legged, powerful stance is really cool, and the way he is shown hunched over is nicely done. And when you get down to his feet, I really love the look of his blue sandals, more so than I've seen on any other statue. They added some slight weathering to them that looks nice, and they even added on these metal button details that are a nice touch. Also, they did a great job at sculpting his toes in a way that they don't look webbed. I also wanted to give you a closer look at his jacket, so it's sculpted in a way as if it's flying in the wind and is shown rising up behind him so you can fully see all of its details when displayed on the statue. The black flame pattern is nicely painted and the texturing adds this leather-like look to it as mentioned prior. The only thing I will say is that the back of his jacket is rather plain for what we see on the front here, since it's just painted in this brown color. It would have been nice if they added some variation here, but I'll never see that when it's on display, so I don't mind it all that much. This body sculpt overall though is amazing. The texturing and detail they added on his clothing are just super nice. Next, we have the base, so there's a lot going on this base, but I think it's tastefully done. I like the fact that it isn't like your standard base like you typically see on anime statues. Instead, you have this rocky pillar that builds up to the ground that Naruto stands upon in the scene of the battle. There's a lot of rubble and debris and cracks in the rocky earth that show off Naruto's power here, as well as the aftermath of Pain's assault on Konoha. Atop the base, we have these mechanical bits and pieces of the Asura path. The level of detailing they achieved here is absolutely phenomenal. I really like the paintwork on these pieces and the metallic colors they painted them in, and they weathered and battle damaged them in a way that's nice. His chest piece is displayed directly under Naruto's palm, which makes him look even more badass than he already does on this statue. There are a lot of details that will key in here that came separately sculpted, as you'll see in the assembly, that make this base even more ornate than it already is. Overall though, it is a unique base and I really love the concept here. And finally, here is the plaque that came with this statue. It's a pretty solid metal plate that has the art of Naruto's Sage Mode head sculpt and the edition size and number of this statue. Now that you've seen all the pieces, Brad's going to assemble the statue. As Brad's assembling, I'm going to talk about my thoughts on this statue real quick. So I've purchased statues from MH Studio in the past before, so I knew this statue was going to be great, but man, they really exceeded my expectations here because this statue is absolutely amazing, with details that are above and beyond anything I've seen on their statues before. Also, I do want to mention that MH Studio's 1/4 scale Naruto statue came in either a DX version or a normal version. The difference being that the DX version came with realistic artificial eyeballs and a stand for the extra portrait. I chose to go with the normal version because I was iffy on how the realistic eyeballs would look on this statue. I was concerned that they would stick out on the statue, and in all honesty, they kind of weirded me out. If you got the DX version though, let me know how they turned out. I just didn't want to take the risk, but they very well could have ended up looking great. So I got the normal version of this statue, and it shows Naruto during his battle with Pain with Fukasaku on his shoulder, and Shima is also included with this statue as well. So the 2 great Sage Toads are shown here alongside him, which is awesome. I've been in search of a Sage Mode Naruto statue for such a long time, but I'm glad I waited to pull the trigger on this one. This statue has taken what we see in the anime and brought it even further to life in statue form with the addition of realistic touches. I normally collect Naruto in 1/8 scale, but I don't know, guys. I'm really loving larger scales more and more. I'll stick to smaller scales for the Susanoo pieces because that's what they typically come in and whatnot, and they have those larger pieces. But anything that's character specific, like this one, I'm definitely enjoying the 1/4 scale. The level of detail here is just incredible, and since I got this one in their Statue of Pain to be a centerpiece in the collection, so I can really highlight one of my favorite moments in the entire series, I just love the way this one looks and turned out. Finally, I have a Sage Mode Naruto statue in the collection, and I couldn't be happier that I went with MH Studios. What do you guys think of this one? Let me know. I personally think this is one of the best Sage Mode statues to release in Naruto, and even though I think MH Studio do great work already, I must say I'm really surprised they made this one. It just has so much more detail, and maybe this is just because of its scale, but I just feel like they added so much more to this one, especially in Naruto's body sculpt, and that just makes this one better and more intricate than others I've seen so far. Also, I really love that this one had no fit issues at all. The only pieces that were a bit difficult to find where they key in were the red fencing details and small metal rods that key in around the base, but once you found them, they were easy to assemble. It really is an all-around well-made statue. Now that it's fully assembled, let's get into my favorite part, the showcase. And there you guys have it. There's my unboxing of MH Studios 1/4 scale statue of Naruto. Up next on the channel is my monthly recent reads and manga haul video, as well as reviews of the first volume of the Fist of the North Star hardcover and the Hellsing Deluxe editions. Thanks so much for watching as always, and I'll see you next week.